One thing that there are a lot of on Anglesey are prehistoric monuments, and behind me is one of them. It's the one that's closest to where we stay, and its name, I'll try and get this right, is Barclodiad y Gawres, and it basically means the giantess's apronful, according to the kind of Welsh brochure that I've got. It's a Neolithic burial chamber. The Neolithic period was 3000 to 2500 BC. This is actually the later Neolithic, according to the book, which is the younger of those two dates. What you see is not the original outline of the burial chamber, but a reconstruction. It's been excavated, I think mainly in the 1950s, but possibly in Victorian times as well, since the Victorians were great archaeological excavators. And inside were found some cremations. They're not actual burials, they're cremations, but it's a four-chambered burial chamber. It's like a cruciform shape, and there's an east, west, north and south chamber. Each chamber was used for a different purpose, and in one of the chambers, or maybe a couple, they did find some cremations. So let's go a little bit closer and take a look. I find this is always a more atmospheric time to visit rather than midday. It's about 7:30 in the evening. The sun is gradually sinking in the northwest over the Irish Sea, and I think you get the best out of visiting this chamber at this time of day. And this is the entrance, although again I will say this has been reconstructed. All that you see here is modern. I think it's in the care of Gawres, which is like the Welsh English heritage, if I'm not being too unkind to it. Obviously it is now not accessible, but I think when we get here, that's it, it should light up, but I'm not sure how good this camera is at picking up low light situations. Not very good, I don't think. A lot of it is modern now, nothing like how it would have been, but the stones I think more or less are in their original positions. So we'll go outside and talk a bit more about it. There's the plaques which explain a little bit more about it. I'll read the English version. The mound covers a cruciform shaped inner chamber used for the burial of the dead and approached by a covered passage. 3 of the stones at the junction of the passage and chamber and 2 at the back of the side chambers bear original decorations. Yeah, that's something I was going to talk about, because some of the stones in there I've got, I wouldn't call them engravings, but they are engraved with patterns. Some are concentric circles, some are like lozenges, and some are like zigzags. When we first came here, you could actually go inside, and if you'd got a torch or a hand lamp, you could shine them at such an angle it would cast shadows in the in the tooling marks, and you could actually see the patterns that had been carved in. I've also read that the practice of using these burial chambers is something that is quite common in Ireland, and obviously as we look out to sea, Ireland is just across the water. In fact, on a clear day you can actually see it. It's a bit hazy today, but and they are located close to the coast. Yeah, it's a shame that the sun isn't quite as intense as I was hoping, because you get a nice golden light on this and it really does look atmospheric. But one thing that I was staggered at last year when I came was this lump that they've put on top. Now, I know this mound isn't the original construction and it's a reconstruction, but who on earth thought that you could put one of these on a Neolithic burial chamber? It's a solar panel and it powers the lighting inside that illuminates the stones. But to be absolutely honest, it's that feeble the lighting is, it wasn't worth the effort. And this thing can be seen in silhouette from miles around, and we used to look at this burial chamber from Rhosneigr and admire its shape and its meaning. And to me, that meaning has completely gone. I think that's a case of official vandalism at its worst, because that's been done by Cadda, as I say, the Welsh version of English heritage, and it's an absolute disgrace. It's a desecration, in my humble opinion. You know, these sites are not being made anymore. It's been here for probably 3,000 to 4,000 years. Then along comes 21st century man and does this to it. It's an abomination. But enough of my rant. I just wanted to show you this and explain a little bit about it. So we'll just walk around the headland now, on the low slopes of the mound, to get an idea of its position relative to the Irish Sea. And if you look over there, you can see the mountains of the Len Peninsula and Snowdonia beyond, but they're covered in cloud at the moment, so there's not a lot to see there. We're just skirting around the lower slope of the mound now. It's quite an easily accessible site, this is. The car park's less than a quarter of a mile away, so it's quite accessible. Some of the other monuments that are on Anglesey are more difficult to get to, although they're all publicly accessible, but some are on private land. So I'm standing on the north side now, and you can see the entrance, and I'm considerably lower down the slope now. And when you go across to the other side and look across, there's a slight valley just here. If you go the other side of the valley and look across to it, the entrance looks really imposing, As I say, it's a modern entrance, but it's there to reflect how it would have been. And it's a passage chamber, a passage burial chamber, which means that the passage goes through the centre of it, and there are chambers offset at each side of it. There's no obvious entrance on the opposite side. I presume that was lost and it's been made up. So that's the view from the bottom of this little valley. It's only a little dip, but it's quite imposing from here, and if we got some golden sunlight it would really look spectacular, but I don't think we're going to get any golden sunlight, unfortunately. I've now come up the rise from the little valley, and I'm about the same level now as the chamber and looking across to it, again with the opening facing roughly north, I think. I don't know whether they were deliberately aligned relative to the compass, but it's approximately north the opening is. I just got my footage in time. Can't beat a high-vis vest going up to an ancient monument. Really sets the tone, doesn't it? Just being sarcastic, as is my wont. But that pimple on the top is an abomination, in my opinion, because that should be round, a rounded top, not with a solar panel sticking up out the top of it. I still can't believe they've done that, all for the sake of some dim lights inside. It was also discovered that inside there'd been a fire which had been quenched with a type of stew. I don't know how they know this, but this is what it says. And in that stew were the bones of toads, frogs, hares, eels, and something else, I can't remember. So they got a bit of an insight into the ritual that was performed in there, and possibly the diet that the people were eating. So that was Barclodiad, Gawres, Neolithic Burial Chamber. I hope you enjoyed that and found it interesting. I've been coming up here for more years than I care to remember, really, and I always tend to come up at in the evening. A, the crowds are less, and B, you sometimes get a nice golden sunlight, but it wasn't to be tonight. But nevertheless, it was dry, there's no wind, which makes a change, and it's quite calm, really. We've been up here in thunderstorms and all sorts in the past, but tonight the weather was kind. So I hope you've enjoyed that, just a little short video about the burial chamber. I'll try and get around a few more prehistoric sites on Anglesey while we're here, and if I do, I'll do a little video on them and try and explain a little bit about the history. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you again at some point in the future.